Dr. Kohli, well, it's the same treadmill that we keep running on, and it's the same treadmill which gives you the illusion that you're getting fit, but all that's happening is that you're at the same spot, running towards a destination which does not exist. Can the same anomaly and the same analogy be applied to the G7 as well? Because I think the only country that would make a difference being part of this grouping is India.
Good evening, Vineet. Good evening to my fellow panelists and Newsx viewers. I was listening to the very impressive dialogue by Ambassador Vora, and I can't endorse it more than what he said. 1975 was when G7 was formed, and as he rightly said about the UN also. I found a new, expanded version of UN, but I would not like to say it here. I like to keep it to myself. But I think all these outdated organizations, they are losing their relevance sooner than later. 1975, 50 years of G7. And, the most countries which don't seem to be fitting in, even in terms of size, when we talk of the economy size, Italy, Canada, look at these countries where they stand in terms of the GDP, in terms of the size. I mean, it's just been there. And it's been there for a very long time.
Maybe it's just the size of their ego, Dr. Kohli, that gets them together.
Absolutely. This was formed as a Western alliance, They just brought in Japan to give some kind of representation to the East. Otherwise, there was no sense of bringing Japan in as well. And, the fact that India is not there, I mean, for a moment, let's talk of China as well. The fact that China is not even, 280 odd crore people out of the 800 crore plus population of the world are not being represented. It doesn't make sense. Fine. I mean, there are arguments which are given, Vineet, which say that the world GDP, by the way, for the information of people who do not know what is the world GDP at this point of time, we have about $105 trillion. Fine, they may be representing 43 odd % of the world GDP, but, not counting the population, not counting the people representation doesn't make sense. I think President Trump's exit has only vindicated the stand of what Ambassador Vora said, that I think it has lost its relevance. There's no point of having a G7 kind of a summit here. Who's going to listen? Can they stop the war? The billion-dollar question, Vineet, is, can they stop the war? The answer is one big NO. Nobody's going to listen to them. I mean, who's listening to whom these days? The countries just want to do what they want to do. They are being supported by, those silent supporters here and there. I think the world is nice. This is the day of AUKUS, Quad, OPEC plus, BRICS. I think these smaller groups, which are newer in terms of their age, have become more relevant because the problems have become more regional. Those traditional colonial type groups, I would say, they have absolutely no relevance. And I completely endorse Ambassador Vora when he said, from the chief of the UN, that comment comes about maximum restraint. So it becomes the minimum restraint, every time it is uttered. So yes, I completely agree. I think as far as Prime Minister Modi and India is concerned, as rightly said, I think it's a good opportunity to make your presence felt. And with Canada, we've been having issues with Canada. They're supporting the Khalistani movement and so and so. And I'm sure this is a good opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to go and just be very straightforward in his talk that, okay, we can set this relationship, but get rid of this nonsense from your country. We don't want anti-India rhetoric coming from your country. We don't want separatism movements emanating out of your country.
But Dr. Kohli, the Canadian authorities did allow a number of cavalcades and road shows where, there were processions and car rallies taken out that, did demean the Prime Minister's presence in Canada. How is that a reset?
No, I know, because, see, Prime Minister has to convey this message, and I'm sure he is conveying that message. There are political, we must not forget that these, extremist organizations, Khalistanis, are being given a political picture there, are being given a political frame there. So when there's a political frame, there is a democracy. You do have a right to come on the road. But I think what matters most, Vineet, right now is PM to PM talk. And I think Prime Minister is going to be very, very straightforward that this is a chance to reset. If you can't get rid of this nonsense from your country against India, then definitely there is no question of resetting. I think that's the opportunity. Plus, apart from that, Prime Minister can have one-to-one dialogue with the United Kingdom or with all those G7. Honestly speaking, I used to remember all these countries by heart once upon a time. Now I don't even feel like remembering. There's France, there's Germany, there's UK, there's the same old story, Italy, Canada. I mean, what's there to remember in them? Very honestly, being an economist, I'm making a very bold statement, and I would want Ambassador Vora, Gautam, and my lady fellow panelists also to listen to this. If you go into the details of their economy, I mean, I would not call them developed economies these days. The definition of a developed economy does not match, I'm sorry to say that, does not match what these countries exuberate. They've got nothing which is developed right now. Fine, you may be having a certain amount of infrastructure with you. You may be having a colonial past. Having a colonial past does not make you develop. That's a categorical statement that I would like to make. And I think it is just a I think it's another foreign, visit for the Prime Minister to take India's image forward. He was going to Cyprus anyway. He was honored. He was given his 19th honor, the highest state honor by the 19th country. But having one-to-one dialogues would be there. I think all eyes on Iran is the conflict right now. And I think that has also been overshadowed. That has overshadowed G7 summit for that matter. And if G7 summit does not end up saying anything or doing anything on this conflict, I would say this would be end of G7 as far as the organization is concerned, Vineet.
Okay.